This is Bridging Perspectives, a conversation with CGTN anchor, Mr. Zhongxi, on BRICS Africa Channel. Good day, Mr. Zhongxi. How are you?
Hello, Professor. How are you doing today? I'm doing great.
I'm doing very fine. Today at BRICS Africa Channel, we have a special guest with us, Mr. Zhongxi, an experienced anchor from the China Global Television Network, CGTN. We are thrilled to have you, Mr. Zhongxi, here to discuss evolving dynamics between BRICS nations and Africa. Now, my first question for today, in anticipation for the upcoming two sessions, my question will be to you. What are the milestones, achievements of China since the two sessions of the year 2023?
Professor, a pleasure to be with you today. I would really like to focus on the Chinese economy because the economy registered 5.2% growth rate in 2023, meeting the target set in the two sessions last year of around 5%. Hard because let's not forget that the Chinese economy was moving forward with the scoring effect of the pandemic and against a very complicated international environment. In terms of that number, in addition to that number, let me also mention some employment numbers. China created over 12.44 million urban new jobs in 2023, with the surveyed urban unemployment number down to just over 5%, down 0.4% than the previous year. And also the total value of import and export of goods stayed stable. So all of these numbers indicate a steady recovery of the Chinese economy. I would say stabilizing and recovering really are the key words of 2023, where the China watchers, this is of course reassuring news for China watchers, outsiders looking in, as well as insiders here in China, for the Chinese people who can now breathe a sigh of relief to see for the first hand the resilience in the Chinese economy, to see how the Chinese economy has bounced right back as the country moved away from the shadows of the pandemic. Let's not forget all of this was achieved with that external environment, unfavorable external environment. We're talking about regional wars, geopolitical tensions spoiling over, and all of the talks, all of the background noise of globalization and decoupling threats targeting China. That being said, Professor, it doesn't mean that the Chinese economy is not without headwinds. In fact, a number of challenges to tackle this year. We're talking about a domestic demand that's rather lackluster. We want it to be warmer with more vitality. We're talking about an overall global demand that has not been as strong as we would like to see. There's also that confidence issue on the part of Chinese consumers, on the part of foreign investors that have yet to be encouraged to grow. So all of these issues need policy support, and we're looking forward to seeing what policies and measures will come out of the two sessions this year.
Thank you very much. But whilst we are still focusing on economy, I have a minor question to ask, that all these economic drivers that you have mentioned, they have something that has been constant despite during and despite the effects of the COVID-19, and that is the graduates in China. Graduates continue to study. As the economy, as it is opening up in China, able to consume and get employment for all these graduates that have continued their studies and they've graduated on time? Do we have those graduates having employment? Are they an advantage or a disadvantage to the China's economic growth at this present time?
Professor, that's a very important question. Employment is always, because it concerns livelihoods of the people, so it's always a hot topic during the two sessions. And you're right, China churns out a large number of college graduates every year in the number of millions. So, you'd have to have enough job opportunities to accommodate those freshly out of college, the fact is the Chinese economy is still developing at a relatively fast pace. Around 5% is really a pretty good number, I would say. The world average is around 3%. So, with that growth number, you will see new opportunities arising from the Chinese economy each year. And also, as the Chinese economy pursues that industrial upgrade, you will see particularly more opportunities in terms of scientific and technological innovation. So, these are the up and about industries and sectors that are continuing to grow in China. We see more, R&D, um, growth every year. So these are the sectors, the high tech and innovation driven sectors, future oriented sectors, really will be the sectors that provide the most job opportunities for college graduates.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's because we have something similar in South Africa in terms of graduates. And our advantage also in South Africa is that we have a fast growing industry, which also provides employment. So I wanted to check in terms of China if there were some similarities, and if in the future China will be able to share with us some of the programs that they have in order to close that gap. So moving to the second question regarding the two sessions is, what points will be central during the deliberations of these upcoming two sessions?
2024 really is a very special, very important year because it marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, and also a crucial year in the 14th five-year plan spanning 2021 to 2025. So people have a lot of high expectations. Of course, for the course of the two sessions, people will be laser focused on that government work report delivered by the premier, which will normally include China's economic growth targets, inflation targets, employment numbers, which we just discussed, and also foreign investment and trade. So people will be looking for the direction of the policies and the concrete measures on the ground to really promote these sectors as China faces all of these headwinds we just discussed. Also, another thing I think that will come up a lot is around the concept of new productive forces. This is a buzzword that's been around for some time lately, meaning a new type of productive forces deriving from China's scientific and technological breakthroughs that will facilitate emerging sectors, emerging industries that are more future oriented. So we will likely see that topic come up during discussions and deliberations in what constitutes new productive forces and how China will utilize these forces to push for its technological breakthroughs. An important background here, Professor, is that China has been seeking its technological independence here because it's faced with, for example, restrictions from the West on technological cooperation with China. Such efforts have been perceived by some as, attempts to contain China's technological advancement. So for China, if these channels are interrupted and disrupted, China has to find its own way to achieve technological independence, and that's what China is trying to do with this concept of new productive forces. Something else I'd like to point out is I think a lot of people are watching for China's attitudes towards opening up. There are concerns that China might not be as open as before with all of those challenges at home. But I think China has been sending out very clear signals that its commitment to expand opening up, to pursue high level opening up, has been unchanged. There are signals, for example, the government has announced plans to cancel all restrictions on foreign investment access into the manufacturing sector here in China. That's a major, major step forward. In addition to that, you have measures already in place encouraging the entry of foreign nationals into China for the purposes of education, for the purposes of business tourism. So you see China has been trying to encourage that people-to-people exchanges that are a crucial link that China has with the rest of the world. I think all these signals are very positive, and we talk about uncertainties a lot these days, Professor. And I think this is China's own response to the world's uncertainties by doubling down on its certainty to stay committed to open up to the rest of the world. I think that's super, super important.
Exactly. Doubling up the openness of China. The last question, which you have already alluded to somehow, but will the two sessions in a way serve as an impetus or corrective measure for the processes of the ongoing 14th five-year plan?
I mean, the two sessions really serve at a time when political advisors and NPC deputies convene in Beijing to put forward their proposals and to put forward their ideas on how to steer the country in the right direction in a new year, basically. So, what we can look for in the two sessions, well, you can call it whatever names you want, a corrective measure, a supportive policies, but what we can look for in the course of the two sessions really is collective wisdom in how to address some of the collective pressing issues that China faces, and in the forms of discussions and deliberations. So, it's still very early. The um, political consultative body, the CPPCC's National Committee, only opened today, marking the beginning of the two sessions this year. I think the best we can do is to keep watching, keep monitoring to see how the collective wisdom will turn out this year. And I hope to keep watching with you, Professor.
Thank you very much. And we wish the Chinese people and the government very good luck during the two sessions. And thank you for sharing your insights on BRICS Africa Channel. It's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you very much.
Professor, it's been a pleasure on my side as well. Thank you so much for having me on.